everyone. Welcome to the You Trash crew and our Blades and Dark actual play of the Gentleman Strangers. We have two strangers with us today, Mr Lurk and Mr Spider, because Ash and Mike are conspiring together. They're running a rival streaming channel. Those bastards. They're called the Gentleman Bastards. We don't approve of that. Is that a thing? Is that?
Yeah.
Yeah? That's those books, isn't it? They're called the Gentleman Bastards.
The Gentleman Bastards.
Well, joke's on you then, Ash and Mike. You can't be called that.
I was going to say they're the opposite of the Gentleman Strangers, but then I was like, they're the lady friends.
They're the lady friends. they're the MILFs, the My Interesting Lady Friends.
My interesting lady friend.
Yeah.
That stands for Zoe.
It's interesting that you think the opposite of gentleman is lady. I would have thought the opposite was like they're the brute pals or something.
Yeah, but chime off in the comments. Is it brute pals or lady friends?
That should be our April Fool's episode this year, the lady friends. But it's just we all have tea and we just talk about genteel subjects. Izzy is super quiet. Izzy, you're super quiet apparently.
Fuck.
Zoe, are you super quiet? Can you say something?
I don't know. Am I super quiet?
Chat, is Zoe super quiet? Because if both of them are super quiet, then that's on me, and I should try to fix that.
I usually tend to be.
Zoe is
but
also
I can also
quiet.
adjust things on my end. I'm also quiet. Nah.
That's ridiculous, isn't it? It is. Could you give us a little something? A little patter?
No, I can't. I'm afraid.
Oh, well, my lines look okay. My volume lines look okay.
I'm afraid I tried to move my microphone, and now
I'm a good level. That's baffling to me because this mic is so quiet for some reason.
Do you want me to turn myself up on my end?
I think it's me. I think it's actually my streaming software. I think I've got.
Unfortunately, I think now my microphone quality is going to be real bad because my microphone has just.
Oh no!
Oh dear! Oh Lord! That's not good.
Oh no! Now I am become. Mr.
And now
Spider.
you are Mr. Spider. Okay, well, the playbook's up on Roll20. I don't think you can see it actually.
I'll figure it out.
Just make it up. Just say I planned for this.
I'll just be posh and read a bunch of books, and that's it.
You've basically
Easy peasy.
nailed the character, to be honest. This is lady friend sabotage. I think Mike's hacking me.
I'm in.
Well, now I'm going to swap your faces round. Because you're incorrectly oriented.
Come on, you bastard!
There we go. Right, okay. Fine, so that's all sorted.
Everyone, I'm really sorry. I think my audio quality is going to take a massive dip because for some reason it's now not recognizing my microphone.
Well, we shall see. We'll see what happens. I'm going to try to maybe if I just reduce my own input volume to match yours. Okay. Izzy, would you give us some patter?
Hello, good day. My name is Izzy. I play Mr. Spider, but in the Lady Friends, I'm Ms. Spider.
I'm going to add a noise suppression filter to that because that is pretty rotten. I don't know if that's going to help, but that's what I've tried to do. Apparently it sounds great, so that's obviously fine. I tell you what you could do as a favour to me is you could mute when you're not talking because I tell you that humming in my ear is very a lot. It's very a lot. It's made me forget English.
I'm very sorry, but I shall mute whenever I am not talking.
We all know what this means. Of course, it means that, as is traditional in the Trash crew, you'll forget you're muted, say a full sentence. I mean, that's just how it goes. Trash is in the name, gang. Trash is in the name. And one of the things that's trash is my webcam, and actually Izzy's microphone isn't bad. It's a blue snowball. It's pretty bad, but it's
Yes.
not. It's not
No, my
horrible.
microphone's fine, but unfortunately, because someone said I was quiet, I tried to move it. It became
Oh, so now it's chat's fault?
Yeah.
They're the hinderkinder. It pretty much always is their fault. Can the volume of the entire stream go up? Everyone's too quiet. That
Well, at
actually
least-
sounds like you should turn your volume up, mate. Sorry. I mean, yes, of course. It's obliged. Well, if everyone's too quiet, that's. I mean, what?
Maybe they've already got their volume completely maxed out, and that's a problem because
Okay.
then.
Fine. That's entirely reasonable. I did reduce my own volume. Unfortunately, the way that Streamlabs works, it doesn't really tell me when I'm peaking. It just lets me guess what my volume is.
Yeah, see-
Maybe the whole world's too quiet or too loud. I can't remember. Well, we'll see.
But I hate it when it does that. When you've got you've got the volume right for something like on YouTube, and then you get like a boom, boom, boom from your computer, and I'm like, oh, die.
Actually, I will say when I was doing the VOD last week, everyone was much quieter than me, and I did go, shite, I need to sort that out. You all sound the same volume, you all sound right to me, but obviously something to do with Streamlabs isn't set up right. Okay, gang. Okay, audience, my friends, my old friends. How is it now? Izzy, tell us about the best species of ant.
The best species of ant is called Solenopsis molester, and it's mostly just because someone was like, this ant's a cheeky bastard, therefore we're going to call it Solenopsis molester.
Yeah.
And I think that they look at their cousins over in Solenopsis invicta and go, hey, why aren't we badass invicta? Why are we...
Well, yeah, they're fire ants, and they're called thief ants, and their name
They're the cheeky
is
scamp ants.
Solenopsis molester. So,
Is that
there you
good?
go.
Is my audio good?
Well,
That's
it
all I-
always sounds fine to me, so I don't know. Okay, so no one's. Okay, well, Photo Potato says it's good. Photo Potato was my stream helper. I'm gonna stream as Armchair Egyptologist soon. I'm not plugging that. I'm just mentioning. And it's been
Everybody
a long.
go follow Armchair Egyptologist on YouTube.
Everyone go subscribe to the Armchair Egyptologist on YouTube. The Armchair Egyptologist has been a long time supporter of the You Trash crew. And you know, and I really think if you like ancient Egypt facts and like presented like slightly fancy PowerPoints, but not that fancy, then it's really your cup of tea.
I will say, I've never seen the Armchair Egyptologist and Lucas in the same room together.
Well,
I never
that's
have.
actually because of an intense personal grudge. We will not be present together. Anyway, I was setting up my stream yesterday, and it made me aware that I'm so glad Mike had set this one up before, because it's been a very long time since I've streamed a video game. Could not get my audio sorted.
Let's all say thank you to Michael, captain of the Lady Friends.
Thank you, Michael, Captain of the Lady Friends.
I'm very grateful for that, but I do think that he's hacking our current setup somehow. He's cut to him furiously typing. That's how you hack, I think. Good old MWKilburn. You want me to name an NPC? I will name an NPC Michael Captain. That's fine. I can do that. That's easy. I still have to name a character. You gave me a really excellent name that I haven't used, and I will be using it. I'm just gonna write down Michael Captain.
Because you're too busy using names like Ronan McAlliskey, which no one has pointed out yet.
It's fine. Ronan McAlliskey's great. And is now in charge of the McCreary outfit, which possibly because of some strange way that these things work, might still be called the McCreary outfit. I don't know. That's sometimes how it happens.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Given Victorian England, likely the McCreary outfit has been replaced with Ronan McAlliskey, and any Englishmen who meet them are like, well, you're McCreary. And he's like, no, I'm McAllister. And they'd be like, well, same diff.
Yeah, it's true. Um, well, the New York Five families don't often change their names. They certainly don't change the names of the families as often as the name of the person who's in charge changes. So, you know, I think I'm going to model it on that. Anyway, so back a few weeks ago, when the Gentlemen Strangers were infiltrating the British Museum, Mr. Spider, you ended up having a brief chat with Lady Woodbridge, who is the chairman of the board of the Adoneum Theatre, mentioning that they had run into a problem, and she'd been hoping to get in touch with Mr. Wick, but of course he is publicly declared missing. And you write, and sort of an exchange of letters take place, and she agrees to come and meet you at the Aventine on a particular evening. On your way to the Aventine, at first you feel a sort of a sense of, we can walk the streets again. You know, it's the war with McCreary is over. The journey from here to the Aventine is actually not too short, so I don't know whether you decide to walk or take a cab. But either way, when you are close to the Aventine, you see your press notices, by which I mean your wanted posters. You see that the Metropolitan Police are offering rewards for substantive information pertaining to the whereabouts or identities of the criminal gang known as the Gentlemen Strangers. It lists your charges: murder of prominent persons, disturbing the peace, several traffic offences, and the poster also warns passers-by to be on the lookout for strangely dressed, masked men, looking as though they might be up to no good. And I'm afraid you do know that they're serious, because it specifically mentions that they are offering increased rewards for any tip that leads to prosecution and imprisonment. But you are unharassed as you enter the Aventine.
Yeah, Mr. Hyde's no narc.
No, indeed not. That would be extremely bad for business. Not to comment on the quality of his clientele, but that would be very bad for business. It's not a dive bar. It's not a cantina full of scum and villainy. A lot of the thing that's remarkable about the Aventine is that its patrons are all connected to the supernatural side of things. A lot of them will also happen to be criminals, but only because the law doesn't easily accommodate the existence of supernatural creatures. Bowman asks, imprisonment, not transportation. Well, I don't know if they're still doing. Are they still doing transportation? Even if they are, perhaps. But this is also Victorian London. As I was saying in the chat before we came live, in Blades in the Dark, prison is the sentence that you get. But by the time you get up to wanted level 4, they start to look at what they used to call the Tyburn tree as your punishment. But I think that's interesting, because I think that has rescue implications. Now, the It You Trash Crew doesn't normally run the sorts of games where the player characters are hanged by the neck until dead, but I suppose that's something we might have to talk about if the strangers don't get their wanted level down. However, there's no risk of you being strung up at this particular juncture, because the Aventine is a civilized place, and not too long after you arrive, you spot 2 women entering the Aventine, one of whom is Lady Woodbridge, who, this is absolutely not the kind of place a lady of her birth should be coming to. And you can see she's followed by a rather nervous looking lady's maid, who looks like if she had the power she would teleport herself and Lady Woodbridge to the nearest respectable hotel. So two lady friends arrive, Mr. Hound. Yeah, two lady friends arrive. The maid is gestured to just sit and wait at another table, and Lady Woodbridge approaches. I'm assuming you rise to greet her in the custom of the etiquette of the day. And before long, Mr. Hyde attends the table and she orders herself a brandy and. Well, just the two of you? Actually, that might be best. I'm not sure if my actors would be overly thrilled by the whole lot of you crawling about the place. Not that I intended to offend you, of course, but I've managed to keep this issue contained so far, and I would like to keep it that way. So perhaps you might keep that in the forefront of your minds. Discretion um, really is key. By any chance, are you familiar with an up and coming composer called Lawrence Mason? No, well, he's up and coming, but he's writing he's writing the score and the libretto for a new opera called Ozymandias. It's about the life and times of um, some pharaoh, some Ramses or other. Not yes. Anyway, to get this, I believe he's a rising star, and in order to get this production funded, I made certain promises to the investors that we could get a very big name to play the titular lead, and I pulled some strings and we did. Surely you have heard of the famed Franco-Italian countertenor Hercule Donadoni.
Of course.
Well, Donadoni has agreed to play Ozymandias in our production. This is certainly the smallest theatre he has ever attended. I'm just going to stop talking. I'm going to stop talking because I don't know if Izzy can hear me. What is happening over there?
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay, good, fine. Well, the good thing is your faces haven't rearranged themselves, so we'll call that a win. He has agreed to come, but if I'm being honest, he's a. Well, I don't mean to be impolite, but he's a foreigner, and as such, very emotional. To be completely honest with you, he's behaving a little bit like a prima donna, and I've been very accommodating, and I've instructed our director to be very accommodating. But I think he's been listening to some behind-the-scenes gossip about the events we encountered during our Tempest production, and Signor Donadoni seems to have come to the conclusion that the theatre is either haunted or cursed. In any case, he has refused to attend rehearsals until the situation is resolved. He'll come to the theatre so that he can claim his pay, but he will not set foot on stage. I cannot have this going on. The longer he delays, the more the investors begin to lose confidence. And in a few days, they're coming to see a rehearsal, and I need them to see Donadoni at the peak of his enthusiasm. And so I thought, who better to reassure him than the very people who sorted out our problem before. Now, we're not doing any strange electrical shenanigans on this occasion. All I need you to do is meet with Donadoni, reassure him that you are very aware of what the situation was, it wasn't ghosts or a curse, and that the problem has been solved. But because of how keen I am for this to happen, and because I'm conscious that this is a little bit of a teensy waste of your time, I am prepared to pay you 3 coin for the inconvenience.
Very kind of you, my lady. We're happy to do it.
I wonder if perhaps you would be happy to come at once.
Well, I think I have nothing else planned this evening, my lady. I'd be quite happy to accompany you.
All
Miss-
right.
Mr. Lurk?
I don't have anything else going on either.
Goodness. I'm not certain that we have met, Mr. Lurk. I am Lady Woodbridge, of course.
I'm Mr. Lurk.
Yes. Charmed, of course.
You're not supposed to shake women's hands.
No,
I don't
she
know how
she
this
she
works.
takes your hand very daintily. Very good,
Yes,
very good.
we've had a couple of changes to our numbers.
Yes. Still no word from what was that sound? What was that?
That was my phone alarm.
Oh, it was very alarming. Still no word from Mr. Slide? No matter. Mr. Spider, I know that you were there for the events we discussed. That will do. If this does not reassure him, I do not know what will. But we will cross that bridge should we come to it. If you will please follow me.
Mr. Spider, for the purposes of this mission, is definitely like he's walking with a cane, which is not uncommon for fashionable Victorian men, but he is very much. He always walks very stiffly, but he's walking much stiffer at the moment because
He's mostly bullets.
No, they got the bullets out. He's mostly what happens afterwards.
He's mostly the gap that bullets leave behind them on their way through your body. Yeah. So you can see that there is she has a carriage of her own, but behind it there is a handsome cab that's waiting for the two of you to get in, and you're led to the Adoneum Theatre. It's really not at all worth getting a cab for. You could have walked it in about 5 minutes. But as always in London, people will get inappropriate transport instead of walking because...
Mr. Spider is very grateful that we're getting a cab and not walking.
Well, it would be rude for her to go come at once and then make you walk, even if it's 5 minutes. It's the gesture of the thing that matters. And it's not like it's causing greenhouse gas emissions. I mean, I guess horses do emit some greenhouse gas. But no more because you're using the horse. And you can see the Adoneum Theatre no longer haunted by whatever strange phantasms were conjured by the workings of Mr. Kaplan. And the theatre is in full swing. You can hear not an entire orchestra, but you can certainly hear a few strings warming up and people bustling around with costumes and set pieces and whatnot. And you are led backstage. Lady Woodbridge knocks on the door and it is opened and you are introduced to Hercule Donadoni. Hercule Donadoni is a remarkably slender figure, even to Mr. Spider, who is himself not made of much, made of less since the bullet wounds. Donadoni is utterly bald. He is sitting in a dressing gown. And he puts down a small glass of wine as you enter. These are the ruffians you have brought before me, are they? And no, I do not need to be crowded by curiously dressed whatever these are. Lady Woodbridge sighs and says, why don't I show you two around and you can take a look and make sure that there is indeed nothing wrong with the theatre. And Donadoni says, the one in the white tie may stay and tell me whatever it is you wish for him to tell me. And so Lady Woodbridge leads Mr. Lurk on a tour of the backstage area. I guess the thing is, Mr. Lurk, you're going to see some really interesting costumes. I you know.
Well, so I think depending on the length of the trip over here, I was hoping to maybe have asked Mr. Spider what the deal was with this theater, because Mr. Lurk was not a part of
No,
any of this, so he's
absolutely. Well, Mr. Spider, what do you tell Mr. Lurk of what happened here last time?
Twas an interesting affair, wherein we were called to take a look at some potential hauntings, but it turned out that the hauntings were entirely the responsibility of some modern technology. This New York technician, Moses Kaplan, had traveled here with some terrible machinery that were summoning ghosts. And Mr. Spider looks like he's going to say more, but for the rest of the cab journey, he kind of is smoking and dissociating out of the window, because the audience may or may not remember that it was the incident at the Adoneum Theatre that caused him his first level of trauma.
True. In fact, I think it gave Mr. Slide his level of trauma as well.
That was a big day for us. Crispy and I got our trauma at the same time. Yeah, it's given Mr. Spider a positively haunted aura.
The theater wasn't haunted, but you were.
I took the haunting with me.
The theatre was merely debatably haunted.
Yeah. Artificially haunted.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, there was something there that shouldn't have been. I guess that's a possible definition of haunted. But yeah, Lady Woodbridge shows you. Now that you know that this story, you understand why Lady Woodbridge shows you the particularly things like the lighting and whatnot. The theatre, being recently renovated and fairly well funded, is electrically lit. But the electrics that Mr. Spider was describing were essentially mad, huge Van de Graaff generators, designed so that Prospero could summon lightning on stage, things like this. But she assures you there's none of that. Mr. Kaplan disassembled all of his gear, which, by the way, worked perfectly once the repairs were made. I mean, I do acknowledge, Mr. Lurk, that this is a tremendous waste of your time, but it is saving our production. Yeah. It's enormously appreciated, Mr. Lurk. We'll make sure that all of the gentlemen strangers receive excellent seats to our opening night. We really are.
Of course, thank.
Very grateful.
I think the missus will really like that.
Oh, you're married. Wonderful. Well, then leave it with me. I shall make sure that you have excellent seats. Do you have an interest in the opera or ancient Egypt?
Oh, I don't. It's the wife. She's a real expert in all that.
Oh, I quite understand. And is she also American?
Oh no, she's a local.
Ah, well, we shall look forward to seeing you enormously. I might even be able to swing an invitation to the opening night cast party if you're interested in that sort of thing. If Signor Donadoni hasn't made an off-putting impression, I assure you he's usually very nice, but this whole situation has him rattled, and by the situation I mean his own believing the gossip he hears backstage.
Right. So because of Mr. Lurk's background in like the work that he did back when he was in the US, doing a lot of like factory stuff and like machinery stuff, is he able to like, I mean, I'm sure that he trusts her that like a lot of this was taken care of by the gentlemen strangers, but is he able to sort of suss out, like, can he confirm, I guess, that a lot of the tech stuff here is what it's supposed to be?
Yeah, I mean, you can verify that with a survey. Have a look around and see if there's anything that isn't ordinary for lights and such.
So controlled, standard.
Yep.
I don't know what that was. I'm not on the right page.
That's a 4. So
Oh,
yeah.
nice.
So you go around, you clamber up to where the lights are all wired in, and you can actually see. I think she doesn't know much about this, but she can easily send a technician with you. You can see that there are areas where Mr. Kaplan's equipment was installed, where it was mounted into the ceiling, and it takes you all the way up into the attics where the generator and all of the breakers are located. And as far as you can tell, though you're not an electrical engineer, as far as you can tell, nothing of Mr. Kaplan's original gear is connected. There shouldn't be any reason that the same phenomenon is being repeated.
Right. I will share that with Mrs. Woodbridge when I get back.
Lady Woodbridge.
Oh, sorry.
Yes. Yes. Well, I'm glad we nipped that in the bud before it caused an international incident. So, Mr. Spider.
Having heard Mrs. Woodbridge, Mrs. Spider just jumps out and goes, "Get in the cab. We will talk when we get home."
Mr. Spider was probably slightly alarmed by the fact that I said that all the breakers were upstairs as well. My entire family.
Everyone's here.
So you had something to tell me, he says, and I'm not doing an Italian accent, but he speaks with an Italian accent. I could, but it would sound very... It wouldn't be good. I mean, it would be...
You're learning Italian, though.
Oh, no. But I'm not going to speak English in an Italian accent because,
Just do an Inglourious Bastards. Buongiorno.
Margarite. Buongiorno.
Yeah, I'm really surprised that Mr. Lurk didn't go, "Buongiorno."
Buongiorno. Gorlami. Yeah.
Signor, I am not confident what it is you've heard about the nature of the theatre, yeah?
He reaches into his jacket pocket as you're talking and unfolds a piece of paper and slaps it down on his dressing room table. It is a newspaper clipping, and it reads, "Missing Earl's son feared dead." And Don Adoni says, "So, you finally got Chrissy killed then?" And before your eyes, Don Adoni's appearance changes. The slender, bald figure of the countertenor melts away like a translucent oil washing from him, and in his place, a man of no distinct appearance. He's not at all familiar to you, but for some reason, seeing him makes you feel, well, uncomfortable, but specifically slightly guilty. Sit down, Nathaniel. Come on. No need to stand on ceremony.
I think Mr. Spider just very slowly sinks into a seat because he is literally speechless.
Now, I told you, all those years ago, what it would take for me to leave you all alone. I told Madame to leave it all behind. Then, I heard the gentlemen strangers were back in business. And weeks later, this story. And I thought to myself, that's it. Well, Nathaniel, you tell Madame Whisper from me. She's made an enemy of me. And I don't let my enemies outlive me.
Your pardon?
You should.
What sort of game is this?
I'm not playing games, Nathaniel.
I do wish you would stop saying that. Sir, You and I are not acquainted.
It's just the two of us here. There's no need for this. No one can hear us. And I'm not going to play your stupid games with poor Chrissy probably dead somewhere by your hand, or at least through your inadequacy.
Don't.
Don't what? I taught that kid the ropes. He was a good lad. And you were always a wrong 'un. And I knew when I left. If I didn't... I knew it'd be you who got him killed. And I can see the look in your eyes. You did. You watched him die. How'd it happen? Don't tell me. Don't tell me. Some fucked up thing. I bet that withered old crone wasn't any good either.
You knew Madame Whisper.
What are you talking about? Of course I knew Madame Whisper.
You were the man with no discernible face.
You really don't remember me, do you? Nothing.
From the photograph, it's you.
Didn't often sit for a photo. Oh, you mean Jekyll's horrid contraption. Yeah. He can't still be at it. He's definitely dead.
I'm afraid he and I have never met.
But you know the name Nathaniel.
Tis...
And you dress the same, and I heard her call you Mr. Spider, so what happened?
It seems, therefore, that you know my name, sir, but I don't believe I've had the pleasure.
Huh.
I assume you are not Signor Donadoni?
I have the singing voice for it.
Well, few do.
So how did she get you back together then?
A question for a question. What can I call you?
Where is Madame Whisper now? Tell me where I can find her, and this ends.
I'm afraid if you wish to speak to Madame Whisper, it's not going to be possible. She is dead.
Well, on the one hand, yes. You mean for the last time?
It seemed pretty final.
What finally did her in?
Mr. Hound.
Who?
Ah.
Oh, you've been recruiting. Charming. Could have guessed that from the cowboy.
Madame Whisper did the recruiting, which was when I first joined the Gentlemen Strangers.
Actually, that would be when you second joined the Gentlemen Strangers.
I'm starting to think that is true.
To be completely honest with you, Nathaniel, I'm not too surprised. The last time you and I were in the same room, you were fit for bedlam, mate. You were raving. I don't think there was much of a mind left in there.
Heavens.
Which is why I should find it astonishing that she should drag you back into this farce. So who's in charge now?
Strictly speaking, nobody is in charge.
But you're the
There's-
only one from the old days. You'd have to be. Chrissy's dead. Jekyll's dead, Whisper's dead, and I'm out.
Quite.
So, it looks like it's you who I've got to outlive instead of that broken down crone.
Depends, I suppose, on how we define live. As the Mr. Spider of your acquaintance seems to be no more.
That's a mercy. You seem more like he did in the old days, before all the, monsters and such.
Yes, but I have experienced monsters and such.
Obviously not the same ones. By the time we were done, you were a broken husk and Chrissy was well on his way and I couldn't have that. And now you've brought him back in and got him killed.
I didn't bring him anywhere.
You didn't get him out. That's good enough. Either way, I owe you vengeance. Anyway, I only really brought you here so I could, see the look in your eyes when I took the mask off. It wasn't as satisfying as I thought because you don't know who I am, but there we go.
Who are you?
An old colleague, Nathaniel. An old friend.
If we were friends, then do me the decency of reminding me of our friendship. It is difficult for me, existing in a world, knowing that certain parts of my mind are seemingly gone forever from me.
You know what? I'm torn. Because on the one hand, it would not be merciful of me to give you any kind of mental access to your history. But on the other, I don't know how merciful I'm feeling. Before we shared each other's given names, you called me Mr. Haunt.
It is difficult for me to picture a time when I would have shared my given name with anyone. I have been exceptionally careful, which means we must have been very close.
Yes, we all were. The only one whose name we never found out was hers.
I wonder with a creature that old if names have the same significance.
Well, she wasn't really the sharing type, but then again, she wasn't down in the trenches with us.
No.
We went through some shit, Nathaniel. You, me, Chrissy, even poor old Jekyll. He got to walk away. Just about in time, or so we thought. And I tried to take Chrissy with me. But by that time, he didn't need me to be his mentor more than he thought he needed you to be his friend. And you were not in a good way. And by then I knew that Madam Whisper planned to shut the whole thing down. And I said she'd better. Otherwise I'd be at the Millennium Club, about to burn it to the ground. Seems she couldn't resist in the end. Oh, she's dead.
Yes,
I always wanted to find out if she'd bleed.
She asked us to kill her.
Thought she was too far gone to realise she was an abomination. She should have been our first target.
Well, she was ours. She mentioned nothing of this. I have been through the notes, the recruitment notes that I used for the others. There is no mention of this. The first I knew was that dratted photograph.
It's not a photograph.
Of course it is.
It doesn't matter.
I have, since the day we lost Mr. Slide, felt haunted, as though we were closer than we were. He never told me his name. I knew it by deductive reasoning. He wasn't as good as hiding his tracks. But Christopher Wick and I were not friends, and yet I feel as though I am mourning him like something much more than what we were.
You two were always like nursery mates, brothers. Which I was never very fond of because you are, as previously discussed, a fucking wrong'un.
Hardly think that's fair.
You're a monster. And I've met a few.
What have I done to deserve this ill treatment, Mr. Haunt?
Nothing I'm going to let you do again, Mr. Spider.
He and I are different men.
No.
The Spider you knew and the Mr. Spider I am are different.
Oh, perhaps. But Madam Whisper got you back. Of all the scoundrels in London town, she couldn't think of anyone else to bring back but you two. Don't you think that's a little strange?
Always had something of a singular brain for logistical planning.
Well, it's obvious you're not the assassin you once were. 8 years ago, I'd have never been able to confront you this openly without having a blade to my throat. Look at you.
Certainly not something that's in my skill set.
Look, I've had my fun. I don't think that the next time we meet you'll see my face until it's too late.
I am not your enemy, sir.
No. I'm yours. Oh, by the way, if you want to save this play, the real Donadoni is probably having a really bad time of it.
Where is he?
In a bit of a spot of bother. He's on an old porkware else on the old gravel lane. He ended up in the hands of a bunch of ruffians and, don't worry. He's not going to remember much. He's doped up to his eyeballs. You should know what that's like. Anyway, if you hurry, you can probably make it before the people I hired to keep him alive run out of the money I paid them to do so.
Then it seems we have nothing more to say to each other.
Not tonight, no.
Good day then, Mr. Haunt.
Mr. Breaker.
Thanks, Mrs. Woodbridge.
Lady Woodbridge, you fuck.
No, Lady Ruby goes, no, I'll allow it. We're all stunned. And
All right, Lurk. It looks like stuff is all good out here.
he gets up and goes. He just walks right past you. And as he lays his hand on the door, you can see he already looks just like one of the stage hands you passed on your way here. He gives you a wink and leaves.
All right, Mr. Spider, I checked it all out. It all looks all right out there. Where'd Donadoni go?
Bramble Lane, you need to get a cab.
All right, you can explain it on the way. I go outside and hail a cab.
Mr. Spider is basically following Mr. Lurk and chain smoking and staring into the streets of London.
On your way out of the theatre, and as you're getting into the cab, you're followed closely by Mr. Slide, who just sort of says, "Huh."
The cab pulls away. Mr. Spider's just looking at him like.
You all right? Is there something that happened in that room?
That wasn't the real Hercule Donadoni.
Is it some kind of monster? Is this another? Is the theater actually haunted now? Is that?
No. We just have to bring Donadoni back. I might not be much use to you. Still recovering from the last time I engaged with ruffians.
That's all right. I'm just lucky enough that I was out with the missus while y'all were getting eaten up by bullets. I can take the helm on this one.
Huh. Good show.
Anyway, Lady Woodbridge said that we can get free tickets to the show if that'll cheer you up. I know you're a man of culture.
Do love the opera.
I think Mr. Lurk, he's seen this look on Mr. Spider before, and he knows that he just needs some time, so he won't press too much.
Mr. Slide never leaves you, Mr. Spider. He just sort of leans back, looking out of the cab's window. Every now and then he looks at you with a kind of a neutral expression. But he doesn't follow you out of the cab when you arrive on Old Gravel Lane. So it's late evening. I think it's probably getting on for something like 8 p.m. thereabouts by the time you arrive. Old Gravel Lane. Old Gravel Lane is on the other side of the city of London, from where you normally get about. Basically, it's a huge wharf district. All the warehouses and so on are there. It's never really. There are a few hours in the very small hours of the day where not much is happening, but it is a bit of a 24-hour situation. So this is the strange thing. Okay, I cannot chat. I cannot talk in the Twitch chat. Even though I'm logged in as the Trash Crew, I'm hosting the event and they won't let me talk. It's like I'm having a dream of a party that I'm hosting, but no one will talk to me, which is a lot of dreams that I have. I never dream of parties, don't worry. I wouldn't dare.
Wouldn't dare dream of a party, and if you did, you would invite yourself.
I've banned myself for my inappropriate behaviour. Also, but I do just want to say, hi Janara, it's absolutely bloody lovely to see you here. Haven't seen you about for a while. I'm really happy to have you back.
I think it's very strange. Janara has returned to the chat at the same time as you emotionally traumatized one of my characters. This feels like the good old days.
The good old days, absolutely. Okay, fantastic. So, you arrive at the Port District on the Old Gravel Lane. I guess technically this is now gathering info, so yeah. Over to you guys.
So, I'm telling this to Zoe. Mr. Spider in this stage is not going to be the most helpful. You know that we're here to rescue Don Adoni, and he is going to sort of just be lurking.
No, that's my job.
Well, then you've got to go spidering.
Oh no.
Well, no, Zoe, because you swapped places on the Zoom call earlier, so now you've swapped playbooks altogether.
This was your plan the whole time.
Howdy, it's me.
That was great. That wasn't at all an atrocity.
I'm getting about the place. Yeehaw.
That's it. You did it. You sorted it out. I'm glad Bree
Yeehaw.
wasn't here to hear you say that. That's amazing.
Okay. So, gather information. So I know what Mr. Donadoni looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure on the ride over here, Mr. Spider would have mentioned any of the information.
Mr. Spider, did you mention any of the information that would help Mr. Lurk in his... No is a legitimate answer, but if it is no, that's a very different situation than if it's a yes.
The information that Mr. Lurk has is ruffians, rescue, and then the building that we're rescuing from.
Oh, so he does know he is looking for an old meat warehouse. He is looking.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay.
He also said the pork shop.
Yeah.
Ruffians, rescue.
So you've actually, Mr. Lurk, you have had work here before.
I was gonna say I'm familiar with these kind of ruffians.
And actually, you are familiar. You're reasonably familiar with this area. You've provided security for shipments. You've even done a couple of nights of warehouse duty. It's desperately tedious and doesn't often pay terribly well. But it pays, and it's always there. That's kind of the job that you would take if nothing more lucrative comes up. Your fixer can normally find you 8 hours standing still. If you're very lucky, there's a second person to play cards with. But yeah, I think you know this area fairly well. And you know that it's got a few bobbies on the beat, but it's not overly secure because a lot of the time the whoever owns the warehouses will hire private security. So
all right, well, I will, knowing where I need to go, I will do what I'm best at and just blend in, look like I'm supposed to be there, look like I know what I'm doing, and just get where I need to go under
Yeah.
the radar.
Yeah, easy peasy. You fit in pretty much indistinguishably from anyone else here. So I guess a survey perhaps to get an impression. We'll see what that gets us.
Survey controlled.
Yep.
Standard. Submit. Ooh, a 5.
5, lovely. Okay, so fortunately there is only one pork warehouse on Old Gravel Lane, so it's very disused. You can see on the brick part of the building where several company names have been painted over each other as it's changed hands over the decades, and as I say, it looks disused, but you can see that there's a chain in the loops on the main door that is hanging loose. There are no, there's no security presence. You do a perimeter of the warehouse. There's no security on the outside.
So is that like, will I have to break the chain, or is there like a lock? Like,
Oh
what
no,
is-
as in the chain would normally be secured to hold because it's one of those huge sliding warehouse doors.
Oh, I see. I
So
see.
normally the chain would be locked up, but it's open at the moment. So if it is locked, it's locked from the inside. But that's not. They're not really designed for that.
Is there an alternate way into the building, or is that door the only one?
It's a very large warehouse. They used to do they used to store a lot of stuff here, and they also needed they used to bring in huge blocks of ice to keep it cool. So it's quite large, it's quite enclosed. But on the roof there is a hatch. It's not a hugely tall building, and because of how densely packed all of the buildings are around here, it wouldn't be very difficult or even particularly risky for you to position yourself there. Opening that skylight is a
Mhm.
different question.
Yeah.
Because it's very old and probably the hinges are rusty and things like that. But it's entirely possible that a bit of prying at the right spot might jostle it open. There is a back door suitable for a human being to use.
It's a good thing I'm one of those.
Right? Which is locked, but it is there.
Well, I think the vibe that I got, the front door is probably fine. So I will open up the big door.
Oh, you're just gonna open up the big door.
Oh no! Should I not? I don't know.
It's up to you. I have a duty to repeat the thing you said to make sure that you said it, and I wasn't misinterpreting your instruction. But you're perfectly welcome to open the big door. That's absolutely fine by me.
Do I want to use the door for humans or the big door?
That is the question.
Oh, I can pick locks. I'm good at picking locks.
Yeah,
Let's
I think
actually
so.
go to the back door and pick the lock.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, I am not even sure I need to ask you to roll this, because you have fine lockpicks. It's a shitty lock, and you have basically no time pressure. So I don't think I'm going to ask. I think you just succeed at this because your success is fairly inevitable. So you open the thing is Bowman is saying this does sound like it's time for an engagement roll, and I guess, we have smoothly transitioned from preparing for the score to doing the score, but that is fine. We can do that. I don't need an engagement roll. But engagement roll does account for things like bad luck, so maybe I should make an engagement
No,
roll.
please, I'm afraid.
I'm going to. I'm going to make an engagement roll.
I shouldn't laugh at Zoe's fear, but I was just, oh no.
So yeah, one for showing up. This is a bold plan because you don't have an enormous amount of information. You're going up against, I mean, no spoilers, but you're definitely going up against something of a considerably lower tier than yourself. So let's do it. Let's find out what's what. What did I get? I got a critical success on the engagement roll.
And that's good for me, right?
That's excellent for you.
Okay.
That's excellent for you. So critical success on the engagement roll means you are able to create this access route because it's right in the back of the warehouse. There's a dividing wall between it and the main warehouse, so you can open it. No one's going to see. And you can get a clear view into the main warehouse. There's a guy tied up in a chair. He's not tied to the chair. His hands are bound. He seems to be asleep in the chair. And there are two men who seem to be passing the time with some dice. And you can see two things about them. The first is that they are not armed. And the second thing about them is that they are just a little drunk.
So, one of my special abilities is that when I push myself, I can either do a super special, superhuman athletic feat, or I can confuse my enemies so that they mistakenly attack each other.
That's true.
So where are these men in relation to both where I am and where the guy is tied in the chair?
You could in the theatre. So the guy who's tied up in the chair is towards the edge of the room. They've set themselves up more towards the middle of it. Given their inebriated state, it's entirely possible you might be able to get to him and out without disrupting them. That's possible. Yeah, I mean, the thing about the Devil's Footsteps is, I think it's designed for when you are in a fight with them. But yeah, you could perform a feat of athletics versus on the superhuman.
Yeah, this is a if I get caught, I can potentially get out of it.
Yeah.
But how do I not get caught in the first place? So
possibly with a feat of superhuman athleticism.
Yeah, that's. I mean, is it possible for me to I don't know. I mean, I feel kind of silly just wanting to like just sneak around and then go up to him and carry him like a sack of potatoes out of the thing. That feels a little straightforward.
Just sneaking around and achieving the goal, says Mr. Lurk.
I mean, I can add more thugs if you want. But you rolled a critical success on the engagement roll.
I did.
Against, I mean, I'm not even going to call this an organization. Against a number of people that is a considerably weak to you anyway.
So, like, what I want to do if it were maximum silliness is create, like, a rope and pulley situation and, like, fling a hook, like, over something on the ceiling and hook it onto the chair and then pull so that the chair lifts up.
Why?
I don't know, because it sounds fun.
Well, the overwhelm. So the.
I mean, that's maximum silliness, so it's probably not ideal.
I mean, the consequence for failure there is that you end up socking your poor countertenor in the head with a grappling hook.
That's true. Yeah, no, I'll probably just sneak around and then pick him up like a sack of potatoes.
Yeah. Okay. So I guess make me a prowl check to get up to him.
Prowl. Is this risky or controlled?
It is risky, but you have increased effect.
Ooh.
Because of the inebriation of the guards and your excellent positioning at the start.
Okay. So that's a great effect.
Mm-hmm.
Submit. No bonus dice. Submit 2 4s.
4. Excellent. So, I think that because it's with great effect, it is risky. So you succeeded. You managed to get to Donadoni. And are you looking to untie him or just to haul him over your shoulder?
Yep.
Okay.
It's harder for him to wriggle if he doesn't have the use of his limbs.
Yeah, he's well out. He seems well out of it. So great effect, I think, means that you have succeeded in getting not only to him but also back to the back door. With this one move. The success has come at a consequence, and that consequence is that while you were never spotted, as you reach the back door, you do hear that one of the ruffians has noticed that Donadoni is no longer where they put him, and you hear them say, "Where the fuck did he get to?"
I sprint back to the cab.
I don't see any reason why I should need you to roll for that. Mr. Spider, you hear someone running towards you, and you see Mr. Lurk hauling himself on a system of ropes and pulleys, swinging. Tarzan, excellent.
Spider Lurk.
A classic novel of this era.
That's our team name.
Spider Lurk. The song is probably copyright.
Good show.
All right, let's squish, make room for him in the back. Come on. Scoot.
And Mr. Spider will tap on the roof of the cab.
The cabbie mutters something about getting a good tip for this, and
he's alive. Don't worry. He's just asleep. I promise.
Shh.
And off you go.
Nothing more suspicious than saying that, Mr.
He's
Lurk.
alive, I promise. Oh, I've never thought anyone was dead more than I do in this moment.
Although that being said, Mr. Spider will go, Signor Donadoni.
You recognize the signs of someone who is well out of it. This guy has been opiated.
Well then,
Same. That was me a couple weeks ago.
Well, yeah.
Zoe B, ladies and gentlemen. Don't do drugs, kids.
No, the Mr. Lurk went in puppies.
Look, your laudanum habits are not for us to judge. It's an old-timey drug. I mean, who doesn't love old-timey drugs?
Nevertheless, Mr. Spider will do appropriate things like propping him up in such a way as to get his blood flowing.
Mr. Lurk will do inappropriate things like drawing dicks on his face.
Classic.
Just rubbing honey on his cheek.
So that bees will chase him?
Yeah, that'll wake him up.
Oh, that might wake him up. Yeah, that's true. And you definitely want a waken up, panicked, stoned guy in the back of this cab.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Mr. Spider is definitely doing the thing like Mr. Spider, not a medic. Not at all. But he knows the things you do around drugged people to be sure that they're like alive. Like he'll do the thing where he checks to see if Donadoni can at least feel pain. So he's like, so he's like, okay, good.
He's not comatose. No, he's not at all comatose. He was probably just sleeping. But Mr. Haunt had kept him sufficiently poisoned that he wasn't likely to be up to much. You might have to make up some kind of story about him sneaking off to an opium den or something like that, but he should be fine after he's had a certain amount of time to detox.
Right. Good work, Lurk.
Thanks.
You haven't seen Mr. Slide since you got out of the cab to have a smoke. He has not returned to haunt you. Though it sure looks as though he is.
You don't know me. You don't know what's haunting me all the time.
Hey, you've every moral right to haunt yourself. That is absolutely fine. And you make it, you go travel once again through the city and you return to the Adoneum Theatre. Lady Woodbridge fortunately has been working on some of the books upstairs. She hasn't really, as far as she's concerned, you never left. So I don't know what you're going to spin to as to why Donadoni is suddenly off his ass.
I think Mr. Spider's going to be somewhat honest, but not about all of it.
What do you say?
So he'll say to, given Lurk's got his various abilities, it seems like he could probably help get him into his dressing room where he can relax and knock knock.
Oh, do come in.
My lady.
Lady Woodbridge, please.
I have some good news and some potentially bad news. The good news is I believe that your little problem will shortly be resolved. There was a certain degree of anxiety in Signor Donadoni. I'm afraid that after our little discussion of earlier, he may well have left the Adoneum in under something of a dark cloud.
Oh.
My compatriot and I went to seek him out. I know that was not necessarily our task, but we thought that since it was our presence that likely distressed him. Not to impugn the honor of Signor Donadoni, but we unfortunately tracked him to Limehouse.
An opium den, no doubt.
Quite.
Well, I shan't pretend I didn't see something like this coming.
I believe there will be no further disruption from that end of things. We smoothed things over there. He was not seen. There was no incident. But he is currently convalescing in his dressing room. But my experience of these things is that likely when he comes to, he may well have very little memory of his fear of the ghosts. So it might well be that if you press on with your rehearsal schedule, there might be a silver lining to this dark cloud.
Well, do you think that his fear was brought on by some sort of horrid withdrawal from his tonic, as it were?
I believe so.
Oh, the last thing I need is to tell the financiers that our leading man is inebriated half the time.
My experience with actors is that he did not seem to me to be a terribly hardened inebriate. It may well have been that because of his fear and his stress, he, as it were, fell off the horse. But I don't think he will need a great deal of laudanum or opium to continue his performance. I think once he recovers, this little period of mania should be past, and that a little hard work and performance will hopefully get him back on track. Of course, feel free to consult with your own physicians and doctors, but
I'm not paying to summon someone this time of night. He can sleep it off, and in the morning we'll quietly moving back to his hotel until he's recovered. I can't have the young men being influenced by his shocking behaviour.
quite. My experience with such things, he seemed very embarrassed when we found him, so the likelihood is that if I were in his position, I would wish to have some strong coffee and move on with my employment.
Well, I shan't be grilling him on the subject. Either way, you think he's past his concerns about the haunted theatre?
I believe so. As I said, I am not an expert in such things. I am not a headologist, but he... the deadening effects of opiates, I believe, will have lessened his fright.
Well, I do appreciate you going and fetching him from Limehouse. I
understand that we are an unusual band of fellows, and what are we good for if not the ability to do slightly strange favors?
In the desk over there in the top drawer, you'll find an envelope that might be of interest to you. Perhaps you could take it with you. I'm not confident of its contents, but you might find it interesting. Yes, it is a shame that we shan't be returning the Adoneum to its to the heights of its electrical art, but we did manage to pull off quite some marvelous effects before poor Mr. Kaplan disappeared.
Yes. Well, I find that these things tend to work themselves out. I am certain that the innovations in the theatre will come sooner rather than later.
Oh, undoubtedly, undoubtedly. He's probably back in New York making a name for himself. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Spider, and do thank Mr. Lurk for me. I shan't take up any more of your time.
Servant. And he collects the envelope and walks very stiffly out.
Yeah, well, you leave the theatre without any further run-ins with Mr. Haunt. Probably not here anymore. But would you know if you'd had a run-in with him?
Mr. Spider, from this point on, will certainly be looking at the faces of all people in a concerned fashion.
Excellent. I'm sure that
You weren't doing that already?
Right?
No, Mr. Spider doesn't make eye contact. What are you talking about?
Yeah. Well, so, this is actually one of the longest streams we've ever done, and I will thank everyone for that. So, you return to the Millennium Club, perhaps?
Yes, see.
And it is perhaps tonight where you discover that the door has gone blank.
Mr. Spider can't catch a break. My door.
This did used to have like runes on it, right?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, it did.
That's sure spooky.
Hmm. Yeah.
Mr. Lurk just gently pats Mr. Spider on the back. But, like, even more gently because he knows that he's falling apart.
He looks unwell. Amelia? Amelia?
Hearing your calls, Amelia descends. Ah, you're back. I popped to the Aventine earlier. Mr. Hyde had a letter for you.
Oh.
What happened to the door?
What happened to the door?
What happened to the door?
I haven't been down here tonight. I'm sorry.
No, I...
Well, anyway, the letter has a Sussex postmark, so perhaps there's an answer for you.
Heavens. Yes, yes. Thank you. I think I can just sit down.
I've not had a good night. It's just gone horribly.
It's just not been my day.
Mondays, am I right?
What is a Monday?
We don't do that. We don't do that sort of thing here. We have Victoria Day, George Day, Edward Day.
Yeah.
So you have a letter. You have a letter which tells you it's a letter from Wilhelmina Constantine, and it thanks you for your assistance with the Reverie Beast, and tells you I'm delighted to inform you that I have successfully resolved your problem with the door. It should not concern you any longer. Your servant, Wilhelmina Constantine.
The fuck does that mean? Is that not what you wanted to happen?
I asked her to translate the door.
Well, maybe in translating that caused it to, like, maybe the act of translating it is what made it stop.
Well, then surely she should have expressed that in her letter.
Yeah.
I am sick of people not explaining things.
Well, what about, I know when we got back in the cab after the stuff with the theater, you also had an envelope from there. Is that anything else we should be worried about?
Cash.
No, is it just the payment?
Yes. Cash.
Cash.
We couldn't say those words, Lady Woodbridge and I, because that would have been crass. So she had to just imply that she just dropped some money, and I had to say, "Oh, well, I'll
Well,
just
it was
take that."
well, it was more that it was extremely off the books.
Yeah.
Listen, I don't know all the stuff going on with Mrs. Woodbridge.
Lady Woodbridge. I'm sorry.
You know, someday you're gonna have to learn me all this stuff about what all these different words. We don't in America we just have the one word, and it's fine.
But I remember from a previous downtime, Mr. Lurk had discovered an old book by Mr. Slide. I don't think you've gotten to that chapter yet. How to address the widows of viscounts. It's very unclear.
That's true. Listen, I only have 2 of 6 of my things. Maybe when I finally reach the end of getting that extra point, point, I'll have learned.
Yeah.
Mr. Spider is going to gather up an armful of books, his letters, the brandy from the kitchen, and is going to go to his bedroom, where he has been for some time, and he's just going to close the door and say, "Good night, Mr. Lurk."
Good night.
Okay. So this seems like a good time to deal with payoff. So I'm just oh dear. So I'm just going to make a direct deposit of 3 coin right into the gentleman stranger's vaults. You're actually sitting on quite a lot. You've got 11 coin now.
Superb.
You could buy a small country for that. Well, not a very good country, but you know. You also gain 4 reputation.
Ooh, big reputation.
Because Lady Woodbridge is quite well connected and you were able to help her out. Now, did the crew interfere? Not really. You didn't contend with challenges above your current station. You contended with challenges so far below your current station. I should probably remove an experience point. You unlearned things. By doing so. But you probably did express the goals, drives in a conflict or essential nature of the crew. Actually, you definitely did, because your go-to methodology is for someone to vanish without trace, and you successfully executed a vanishment without trace. So I'll definitely give you an experience point for that. That seems entirely correct.
Yeah, we really needed Mr. Lurk when we were trying to do a stealth assassination, and then we just went, fuck it.
Yeah, it all worked out perfectly well, and now the gentleman strangers are wanted in part for traffic offences. So Mr. Lurk,
Yes.
it's downtime time.
Mm-hmm.
Let's start with experience points then. Did you address a challenge with stealth or evasion? Yes,
I did.
You definitely did do that. Did you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
I think that he did, if only because everything about his engagement with Lady Woodbridge was just, I'm American.
And you desperately did want to lasso something earlier. That
I didn't even think about using the lasso. Oh.
You got to yoink him from out of. I know. Well, look, keep it in mind. I promise there'll be plenty of things you can yoink with a rope from a distance.
I want to praise Mr. Lurk for basically dealing with an emotionally traumatized Victorian man who's like, "Hello, I am the most repressed human being on the planet," and he's like, "Let's talk about it, buddy." Like,
yeah.
Listen, that's I constantly have to think, what would Americans do versus the British? You know, stiff upper lip. They don't talk about stuff.
That's very true. And Mr. Spider has a lot of stuff to not talk about.
Yes.
To be honest. So yeah, downtime. And you're not wounded. So
I'm great.
You can down any time. I mean, what is there anything you particularly would like for Mr. And you've got your 2 actions back.
Yes.
Now that you're not at war.
I am gonna study some more. Gonna put a couple more in my resolve.
Yep, go for it. Absolutely.
And then the other thing I'm gonna do is take my wife to the opera.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, that's not like an official thing, I guess, because I'm not like indulging a vice officially, I guess, because I don't have any. I only have 1 stress to get rid of, but.
Yeah, I think you're doing having a nice night out. I mean, but you know, well, you don't need to indulge your vice, but I guess it might be time to celebrate by getting some new cufflinks or something like that, for the event. But you're not going the whole hog. You're not going for a full shopping experience. So there's no risk of you overindulging on wife this time.
Oh look, you've overwifed it. Oh, you've overwifed the pudding.
But you are entitled to a second proper downtime action.
Yeah, that's true. I guess I can like do another thing.
You could you can train. Can you train the same thing a second time?
You would have the answer to that.
I don't know
than
why I'm
would.
asking. Oh yes, you can.
Is there anything else? I don't have any like special activities or like long-term projects that I'm doing. Should I be doing a long-term project?
You could take up a long-term project. Is there a particular long-term goal you would like Mr. Lurk to pursue?
I don't know. I don't think he has any yet. I think he's just gonna. Okay, so I will have filled this up because I get 2 for each.
Yes. Yep.
So it is filled up.
Excellent. So you clear that, and then you can put a dot anywhere under resolve that you like.
All right, which one did I say that I was gonna do?
I think you were doing consort originally.
I think so.
But you're not bound by that.
Whoops. I don't wanna roll a die. Stop it. Okay. Yeah, consort with connections from your heritage. Or was it sway? Sway someone with charm.
I know it was definitely one of the social ones, so I mean
Yeah.
that does make sense. Yeah, you definitely go with sway,
I think it's
charm.
gonna be sway.
Yeah,
Sway
excellent.
makes more sense for Mr. Lurk, I think, because he's just such a good old boy.
So as well as raising your sway, that's also raised your resolve rating, so you're better at resisting social stress, or mental strain, which is good. Excellent.
Right.
I'm embarrassed by how well that went. Mr. Spider, you're doing less well, actually.
My housemate just surprised me with cock.
There's cock. Great. So, Mr. Spider, how will you be spending your downtime?
I actually have a slightly more mundane question before I do a potentially complicated downtime.
Love
How
it.
do you move coin to stash?
You can move coin to stash at any time. You just say, I move coin to stash.
Oh, so it's not like it's not an action and it's not a...
Nope, you just do it. You just tell me you do it.
Because it suddenly occurred to me, I have 1 coin in my inventoire, and I am 1 coin down from filling up a row of stash.
That's very true.
And it just seems like having a full row of stash
it's a good it's good. Oh, by the way, sorry, last week everyone's stash went up, and I did yours as well, because the crew upgraded.
Nice.
So
I was
there we
gonna
go.
say I didn't remember having that much money, but I was just gonna accept it.
Yeah,
So
you get stash every time the crews up. Ooh, that's something weird.
So I've ticked my first row of stash. What does that mean for me going forward?
Does that tick it?
Yeah.
That does tick it, yeah. Okay, so this is the first time anyone has reached stash level 1. Stash level 1, so it determines your quality of life upon retirement from the did my camera just cut out?
Yes.
Well, I don't know what to do about that. That's just happened to me. There we go. I didn't actually fix that. It just came back. So at 1 stash, basically at 0 stash, when you retire from this life, you're just completely done. You're just completely destitute. All the way up to level 4 stash, where you're living quite comfortably. But in terms of the actual game, stash is a new thing, a new kind of action that you can roll, and it's any time that a little bit of money exchanging hands might smooth things over, or any time that appearing to be well off would come in handy. So basically, it's any situation where you don't want to just spend coin necessarily, but you want to appear as though you have it. A quick tip for something that's not quite worth a coin, or we need to get into this fancy restaurant to talk to the mayor, but they don't think we're upper class enough, so you'd roll stash. And if you succeed,
How dare they? I'm very upper class.
And things like that. But you can also roll stash to avoid or reduce the amount of coin you spend on something. It's quite risky because if you fail, there's a chance you end up having to spend more. But yeah, stash is essentially a thing you can roll. You can turn stash into coin. at any time. But to do that, you have to spend 2 stash to turn it into 1 coin. So it's usually not a great idea to do that.
Cash money.
But
Cash money.
sometimes you need to liquidate an asset quickly, and that's what that looks like. Yeah, so there you go. You've got a stash.
My man in Zurich.
Yes.
Superb. Okay then. Back to.
Let's do some experience points. Well, you didn't really address any challenges at all, did you? You sort of, hid from them, but did you express your beliefs, drives, heritage, or background?
Yeah.
I feel like you either did this or struggle with issues from your traumas, and it kind of represents the same event, doesn't it? Because your background is a thing that you don't necessarily remember. I've got a minor help here, which I think I'll employ when you heal.
Thank you. Oh well, if I get 1 XP,
yep,
then I do believe that's a playbook advancement.
That's a playbook advancement. Do you have a special ability in mind for Mr. Spider?
I was actually thinking of taking veteran again.
Really? What were you thinking?
Something to represent the physicality he's been going through.
Well, I have some suggestions I might make between sessions if you're
lovely.
open to not doing it just yet.
I'm delighted to not do it just yet.
Actually, why don't we talk about it? Because I think it's something that is connected to the session. What if, as Mr. Spider has been exploring some of these past memories, what if he does unlock a cutter ability reflecting apparently his past life as an accomplished assassin?
Yeah, that was terrifying for him to find out.
To find out that when he killed Seamus McCreary, it possibly wasn't his first kill.
He didn't kill Seamus McCreary.
Nope. No, I guess you didn't. No, you didn't kill Seamus McCreary. There was the option to, but Mr. Spider decided not to because it was more important to do things like, place the card down and get. He had something. Oh, it a signet ring. That's what it was.
Yeah, almost certainly, when he got shot, it triggered something in him the last time he was facing down the barrel of a gun.
Undoubtedly. So yeah, maybe think about something cuttery from that. But you've got plenty of time to think about that, unless you have something in mind now, obviously. But if not, what would you like to do for downtime?
So my thinking is I could take vigorous, which could significantly help me right now.
Don't know what that is.
It's it permanently fills in one of your healing clock segments and gives you bonuses to healing.
I see. Mechanically, that's useful. Oh, sorry.
I'm not. This is your.
I know. I'm just thinking out loud. Chime off in the comments. What should I do?
Well, mechanically, I think that's cool. I'm not sure it fits necessarily with the assassin thing.
No.
But it's entirely up to you.
I'm going to pick in the downtime because I can't pick.
Absolutely.
So first thing I'd like to do is heal, please.
You may heal, please. So, you roll 1 for your tier.
Mm-hmm.
And your tier 1, and then I'm going to give you a bonus die from a minor help from A Hyperion.
Thank you, A Hyperion.
Thank you.
I'm going to Dr. Captain.
You're going to
Dr.
Michael Captain.
Dr. Captain. It's come full circle.
Let's come full circle. Yeah, Dr. Michael Captain.
Thank you, Dr. Captain.
Is Michael Captain going to end up being Mr. Haunt's real name? Like his name is Michael Captain. That's very strange if true. Oh.
Did I not get... Oh. Piss fuck.
Yeah, so you fill in the segments, though.
Filled in all my segments.
Bollocks. All right. Then I think Mr. Spider's going to do drugs.
Yeah.
Because it's been a very hard day.
Okay, so we're doing vice indulging, are we?
Yes.
Okay, let's do it.
No bonus dice. Just. Go away. 5.
5, so clear off 5 stress. Clear off.
Oh.
That's all of your stress. Oh, that's excellent. That's brilliant.
Drugs.
And now you have a third from calculating.
Yes.
I mean, it's...
Hmm?
No.
Go on, what were you going to say?
No. I was musing out loud, but I realised that I can't muse out loud. I'm GMing you.
No. Well, I was going to say I might look at leveling up prowess, because I'm on the cusp of leveling up prowess, and that will fit in with my potential vibes of...
Perfect. So yeah, you fill up your prowess bar. What action would you like to raise the rating of?
Now, remind me the rules of raising ratings. Is that you can't... Everything has to be at 1 before you raise things?
No, that's just something you've done, but you don't have to do that. You've
something I've done.
I can't yet show this because I don't know how, and I don't care to learn. But Izzy's got a 1 dot in almost every action rating. Yeah, it's pretty weird. So what that means,
like Mr. Spider.
What that means is that your insight and resolve resistances are top notch.
But unfortunately, my getting shot resistance is not so good.
Yeah, that's true.
Maybe I should just therefore level up Wreck? Like, that just seems like...
Do you think that Mr. Spider will get a lot of use out of brute force, as opposed to skirmish or prowl?
No. I just want to level up all my dogs.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with you doing that, but I'm
take a point in wreck because you're a wreck.
Yeah, right.
Oh no, Zobo way.
Just call this man Titanic because he is a wreck.
Remind me again of prowl and skirmish because I can't check them on my
Prowl is moving about unseen or traversing obstacles, so it's stealth and parkour, but it's also ambushing, so if you want to do a sneak attack on someone, backstab, coshing them on the head, slitting their throat from behind, that kind of thing, that's prowl. Skirmish is fighting. It's exchanging melee blows with someone, brawling with them, blade to blade, that kind of thing.
You know what then? I'm gonna put a dot in prowl.
Good man.
Feel like now my trio of 2 dot ratings being study, prowl, and consort are
Consort.
No.
Definitely don't have 2 dots in consort. It's quite different idea.
My consort is a ghost.
Also, I will have you know you are now just as good at prowling as Mr. Lurk is, and that's like literally his thing.
Yeah, but you've got all your lurk abilities, and I...
That's true. That's true.
Well,
we're the sneaky guys.
I'm obliged to add that the action ratings don't necessarily represent how good your characters are at doing them. They represent how likely you are to succeed at them, but it could just be that Mr. Spider is just as likely to succeed at you are out of sheer dumb luck.
It's true.
It's because he's so like slight and small.
He just turns side on and no one.
Quiet.
Yeah, that's it.
And then,
that's it.
Given the state of the world that we live in at the moment, I would like to raid the coffers of the gentlemen strangers, and I should like to return to Dr. Captain. because I didn't do a lot of healing and I'm very injured, and I just think that will help us all in the long run, and there's not one of them that could begrudge me this.
I guess I'm going to write down Dr. Michael Captain as the name of the crew's official doctor contact. Then,
Captain.
okay, I will give you.
Is that who my wife works for?
Your wife can work for Dr. Michael Captain. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. The strange thing.
Just-
The strange thing is, and correct me if I'm wrong. Photo Potato. Wasn't there a Dr. Captain where you used to work? I'm sure there was a Dr. Captain.
Calling out Photo Potato. He's a potato.
Oh, just for reference, anyone who is in the chat or a Patreon subscriber, I'm doxing you all. I know everything about all of you. Now, I just happen to know that Photo Potato used to work somewhere where one of the senior members of staff was literally called Dr. Captain.
My God.
And
Photo
somehow
Potato confirms it.
And somehow it's come back to there being another Dr. Captain in the world.
No, what I love is that Lucas will dox any member of the trash fam, but only with very specific things. So it's like, Photo Potato, you used to work with a Dr. Captain. Michael Bowman, your shoe size is 8.
I don't know anyone's like national insurance number or anything like that, but I can tell you the name of a person you once knew at work. In a way, that's actually doxing them. So, yeah. Yeah.
I'm going to heal. I'd like to heal, please. Can
Please.
I get that bonus die again?
You can't get the bonus unless anyone wants to, while I'm very slowly talking about it, redeem a minor help. Poor old Miss Spider. Yes. So look, Photo Potato did in honor of the original Dr. Captain. You can have a bonus die to your healing.
Thanks, Photo Potato and Dr. Captain.
And Bowman is a UK size 9.5. Why are American sizes one size higher than ours? What's that trying to prove?
Oh, just wait until you learn about women's clothes sizes. They're like 4 different.
Oh look,
US.
Look,
and it's different in Australia too.
The numbers don't even mean anything. Now, here's the thing: as a man, I purchase clothes with sizes in letters, not numbers, so I don't know what the numbers mean. Okay, so that you rolled a 3. So you get another
3 segments.
I'm afraid not.
I rolled a 3. I get 3 segments.
I wish it were that simple. Would that it were, at last it were not.
It's fine. I'm halfway healed, and then I will only be down to blam.
Good.
Poor Nathaniel.
Interesting. Did you know that you can spend coin after the roll to improve the result level?
Ooh.
You could turn that 3 into a 4.
Which would get me 2 segments.
Which would get you another segment.
I know.
Given that your being wounded does have a negative impact on the crew as a whole. Yeah, absolutely. So there you go. You're on 3 out of 4 healing segments. Congratulations.
Oh, phew.
You're this close to being downgraded from blam blam to simply blam.
It's true. Last session I was blam blam blam.
That's true. It was blam 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 for a time. It had to be carried away.
I needed help.
It was very bad. Very bad news.
Oh, poor Nathaniel.
Yet Nathaniel overall hasn't had the best time of things of late. But in another time, not quite upon us yet, the once starlit skies of London darken as the thin veil of cloud becomes an impenetrable blanket. A fierce wind from the east brings river spray and yesterday's rain belligerently into the faces of pedestrians, and on the easternmost edge of London, the lowest layer of cloud begins to flash and flicker, sheets of radiance as bright as any dawn, but stark white. In the cellar, where the storm is being summoned, the circle is almost complete. The Archer King gestures, and the choir of ritualists cease their interwoven chants of the names of the wind. As the echoes of the chant dull into nothing, all that can be heard is the scratching of chalk into stone. And the 7th of 8 segments has been filled.
What is happening?
What is happening? Well, maybe you'll find out next time. I do seem to fill these segments in fairly often. So that's it from me. It was a quick session today, but I think everyone can agree that we sufficiently haunted Izzy. And it was nice for Mr. Lurk to finally have a time out with his wife that didn't involve him colossally embarrassing himself. We shall be back 2 weeks hence. So that will be the 5th of... Actually, yes, we will be back on the 5th of March, unless no one's available for it. But after that, some slightly special stuff is going to be happening. So keep an eye out on here and in Discord as we announce potentially some slightly special stuff going on with the Trash crew. Thank you all for coming and witnessing our great deeds. Thank you to Zoe and Izzy for showing up. Go and follow... Zoe, you're not on Twitter anymore, are you? And I'm not on Twitter anymore. Do not follow us on Twitter, but do subscribe to Zoe on YouTube. Subscribe to Izzy on YouTube if you like. I don't know what she's doing. You know what you should do? You should find a YouTube channel called Curiosity Jamboree, and you should go and subscribe to that. It's completely unrelated to anything else I'm talking about. You should definitely go and do that.
So I'm on Twitter. Like I haven't jumped the ship.
I know, but you don't. You know, you don't want these schmoes following you and seeing your terrible thoughts. And you can follow PraxisDescends on Twitter for her thoughts.
Okay, go on YouTube, find the Armchair Egyptologist, and comment.
Boom.
You have thoughts.
Any video. The condition is you have to watch all the way through before you comment. Then you have to like the video, and then you can comment, and then you can comment. Boo. It will scare me. It will spook me because I'll think my channel is haunted, which will spook me.
The Armchair Egyptologist is going to be streaming soon on YouTube. So
yeah, I don't feel comfortable plugging that really, but I will be.
This is plug time.
Okay, well look, just quickly, since we're not exactly running late over here, there was this video game released in 1999 called Pharaoh, which is amazing, really cool little Sierra city building game. Anyway, they just released a remaster of it, and I thought it might be fun to stream. Just a casual, relaxed, gentle stream. Nothing will happen in it, okay? You'll just be watching me click things and make little houses for little guys. And that's all that's going to happen. It'll be coming in the next few days. The best way to find out when that's happening is to find me on YouTube and follow me there.
God, Lucas, I can't believe you're plugging your YouTube channel while we're trying to talk about this.
I know.
How are the VODs doing?
Zoe, it looked like you're investigating something.
Did you ever play the Jumpstart Clue Finders 4th grade Egypt adventure game?
No, but it sounds like I should.
It was something that I played as a child, and I totally forgot it existed until just now. It's a game for like children, and it's about learning how to like type and basic like math skills. But it takes place in Egypt.
But with an Egypt theme, I mean that's great. We like that. We like that a lot. Yeah, so come find us in the various places we've holed up across the internet. The time has come to place trash bags in the chat for our Patreon subscribers, who are Andre Cherepnin, Araloki, Dinkledor, Elagos, Alexander, Henry Prestige, James Malloy, Joe, Ken Poyner, Michael Bowman, Mike Fielding, and MWKilburn, Photosynthetic, and the Armchair Egyptologist, all of whom are fantastic people, except for Henry Prestige, who isn't here right now, so I'm going to badmouth him. Boo. So until we meet again in 2 weeks' time, fingers crossed, in all likelihood, have a fantastic time. We'll see you around the interspace.